Hello, welcome again to FAIRtax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton,
Bob Scarborough.
and we are
Well,
the FAIRtax Guys.
I'm telling you what, man, there's nothing quite as exciting as seeing, other than the old glory. The flag unfurling is the FAIRtax scrolling banner unfurling right
Why
before
don't you why don't you tell anybody who might want one of those things where they can get one?
the FAIRtaxstore.org.
There we go. And they're just a couple of dollars. They're pretty cheap. And while you're there at the FAIRtax store, you can get the palm cards and the prepaid cards absolutely free. I mean,
Yeah,
no charge for the cards, no charge for the shipping. You can just get those, and so we go to fairtaxstore.org and check all that out, and so that will be cool.
everybody needs to do that. We'll wait for a minute while you go and log in and get the cards, because if you have those on you, then you'll be able to pull one out of your shirt pocket and say, "Here, guess what? You're going to really like this," and leave them everywhere. We'll wait.
Yes. As we have been going over for the past several weeks here on the FAIRtax Power Radio, you are probably a FAIRtax fan, and you might not realize it yet because of all of the good things the FAIRtax will do for you. My favorite, of course, is bringing home your entire paycheck with no withholding and no payroll taxes, never having to file a tax return again, and getting a tax refund every month. Those are just the three best things that the income tax can't even begin to do. And the FAIRtax does quite easily with no problem at all. Okay,
That
shall we move on? Because
Yes,
again, last week we found out that the Congress critters are back in full force, messing with the tax code. And again, we've got a bit more than usual to get into today, so I'll try to go through these fairly quickly. And actually, here's another one that is going straight to the Hall of Shame, directly to the Hall of Shame. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. This is S4017 from Elizabeth Warren in Massachusetts. This is what we've been hearing about all this time, the wealth tax, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to impose a tax on the net value of assets of a taxpayer and for other purposes. There's a companion bill in the House, H.R. 7749, that does the same thing. But that is as shameful as it gets. Again, we're talking about taxing your net worth, which would include any, rises in value. If you own a stock that has gone up and you have not sold it, you're still holding that stock. You have made a profit on paper that you don't have the money in your pocket yet. This bill wants to tax that money that you have not received yet. Now, to quote Gomer Pyle, shame, shame, shame.
citizens arrest. We need to go arrest Internal Revenue Service and those
Yes,
congressmen up there.
yes, we'll put a citizen's arrest on the people that want to tax your unrealized income. That's just insane. That's dangerous. That is a really dangerous idea.
I don't see how that can actually happen. I'm sitting here I've been thinking about that off and on. Not a lot, because I have to think of other things too, but I sit down and I think about what that would entail in terms of compliance for
Yeah,
anybody. And
that,
what happens if after I pay based on today's rate worth of that stock, and the stock goes down and stays down during another cycle of
until you get her.
how do
Well,
I get
hopefully,
it back? Or I don't think so.
I don't know. Hopefully, the Supreme Court in the Moore case that has not been decided, it's been heard, but it hasn't been decided yet. But that
Williams.
is that's the issue. The Supreme Court is being asked to rule on the constitutionality of taxing money that you don't have. A profit that exists only on paper at the moment. And
That's
so
right.
far, that Supreme Court decision has not come down yet. We will be watching for it for sure. Usually, the Supreme Court starts issuing their decisions in late May and June, so it's probably going to be another couple of months before we find out how that goes. But the idea of taxing unrealized gain is just insane, and of course, considering that that's coming from Elizabeth Warren, that doesn't surprise me. Okay, let's go on. Here's one: S4014, a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to provide that income received by a regulated investment company from precious metals shall be treated as qualifying income. That's all I've got on that. I don't have any text. I'm not sure what qualifying income is referring to, but it's going to provide that income received by a regulated investment company from precious metals. I guess if you're selling gold and silver and stuff, then it becomes qualifying income. That sounds like that kind of income is currently getting a break, and this bill wants to take it away. Now, I may be wrong on that, but that's what it looks like.
Well, and that whole precious metals investment, no matter what it is, if it's gold or silver or it could be anything else in that would fit into that category. So you have a broker of somebody who is holding much like an investment broker would hold your assets in stocks or bonds. The same would be for precious metals, I would think. That's what they're. But I'm telling you, it's just they're everywhere they can find a dime to pick up out of your pocket. The government is going to do it without a doubt.
Absolutely. All right, let's go. A bunch of stuff from the Senate side this week. S-4011. This is a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code. Now, you talk about giving bureaucrats a blank check to kind of do whatever they want to regulation-wise. This will end the tax-free treatment of certain corporate reorganizations that involve large corporations. Let me read that again. A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to end the tax-free treatment of certain corporate reorganizations that involve large corporations.
Huh.
I see that has rendered you speechless.
Yeah, it's just, and who writes? I mean, it can't be the staff. Maybe the staff of the representative is taking notes from the lobbyist about how to word this, but sounds like a lawyer's involved in writing a lot of that up for the benefit of the lobbyist client.
That just sounds like giving bureaucrats an unlimited power to do whatever they feel like doing.
Yeah, which is totally insane.
Which is also goes away under the fair tax. That does not happen when you've got the fair tax. So, all right, moving along here. This is HR 7762. Oh, wow. Our two favorite words are back in this one. A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to establish a new tax credit and grant program to stimulate investment and healthy nutrition options in food desserts, and your favorite phrase, for other purposes. Another tax credit, and I have still not been able to find an artificial intelligence application that can tell me how many different tax credits there are in the Internal Revenue Code. I bet it would just, the computer would melt if it tried to figure all that out.
Yeah. Running DOS 1.0 just it's not conducive to good computing.
Oh, mercy. To establish a new tax credit and grant program to stimulate investment in healthy nutrition options in food desserts. Now, something tells me that Krispy Kreme donuts do not qualify as healthy nutrition options for dessert, but I'll still buy one. Yes.
Yeah. Heck, I'm telling you, the whole thing about Krispy Kreme is they're crispy and creamy.
Yes, that's there in Winston-Salem. That is a product of your hometown up there where the radio station is.
Thank you, Vernon Rudolph. We'll salute Vernon Rudolph, who bought the recipe and brought it to Winston-Salem. Purchased the recipe and brought it to Winston-Salem.
Yes, I read an article about that one time. It said that the reason he went to Winston-Salem because he found out that was where Camel cigarettes were made.
Yeah.
How did we get off on that? Okay, one more here. HR 7760 to amend the Internal Revenue Code to treat certain gains and dividends derived from counties of concern as ordinary income. So apparently that municipal bonds and stuff like that, that's usually tax-free income. And I'm guessing that's what this is. There's no text in here again, but it says if you get gains and dividends from a county of concern, which means a locality that is not doing what the DC elites want them to do, We're going to tax that as ordinary income. You don't get a break on that. That one's about ready to go in the Hall of Shame as well.
Right on the edge. Don't make us put it in there. Somebody needs to come up and bring another stupid idea for the tax code.
Well, that should not surprise you. That one comes from California, Representative Brad Sherman, to treat certain gains and dividends. And again, who gets to decide who the counties of concern are? And what does the county have to be doing to qualify as being a county of concern? Again, this is just empowering bureaucrats. It's wrong. We need to get rid of it and replace all of this junk with a fair tax.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. That's about all you can say with that one is, oh my goodness. Okay, well, we need to move on. It's been a while since we have dug into an article like this one. We like to find stuff that again illustrates just the pure abject absurdity of the entire income tax system. And I found one the other day on Newsmax. This is a couple of days old. The headline is the IRS has 940,000, almost a million, unclaimed tax returns from 2020, and that are set to expire, which means if the people to whom that money is owed do not file a tax return for 2020, then the government gets to keep their money. What a bunch of crooks.
Well, and it's more than $1 billion that's inside those returns. May 17th is the day, the deadline for submitting the returns for unclaimed refunds for 2020, and a lot of that has to do with the pandemic, because usually it's 3 years, generally around tax time, like April 15th, and you look back 3 years. If you don't claim your refund for, let's say, 2018 or 19 or something like that, you're, as they say, SOL in getting that. So you have to produce that refund. That's normally 3 years, but here we are looking at the Internal Revenue Service kind of waving a flag at everybody, going, "Hey, you need to go ahead and send in those returns." May 17th is the deadline this year because of the pandemic. There was an extra year tacked on for people who need to file a return.
All right, well, let's back up a little bit here and talk about what a tax refund actually is. Now, most people would, about this time of year when they start getting their tax refunds, they treat their tax returns as free money, a windfall, money that I'm getting from the government. But actually, a tax refund is just getting your change back. I mean, if you make a $12 purchase with a $20 bill and the clerk hands you back $8 in change, your eyes don't get wide and you don't feel like you've received a windfall at that point. You're just getting back. You overpaid for your purchase. You're getting back the money that you gave them, but that you don't owe. And that is exactly what a tax refund is, your own money. So if the government is holding over $1 billion in these unclaimed refunds, they are holding your money that was taken from you, and the system will allow them to keep it if you don't go through some hoops to get it back. That is insane. That all goes away with the fair tax. Can you imagine a worse system where the government takes more money than you really owe? It holds you and then makes you jump through a hoop to get it back. Whoever thought of that tax system ought to be well, I can't say that on a family program here.
Right.
He should be removed from the gene pool.
It's okay. Bob Paxton's views are his own and do not necessarily reflect. I'm just kidding.
Yes, yeah, I know your standard disclaimer there, but we should nominate him for a Darwin Award.
Oh boy. Yeah, we need to create some kind of an award for him. Oh my goodness. Well, the IRS says that most refunds are issued within 21 days of being received. They have a website. On their website, they have the Where's My Refund tool that you can check the status of your returns. If it's a simple tax return, you've probably already completed the information. And the concern that a lot of people have, and I'm finding this as I scroll through, one of our search engines here, people are saying, why is my tax return taking a little longer this year. And of course, could be sent by the mail if instead of they're encouraging you to go online and do everything online. So could be one of the reasons it's delayed is it was sent by the mail. Could contain errors or incomplete information, needs to have further review. If it needs further review is one of the reasons it might be delayed. It could be that it was affected by identity theft or fraud. Could have been referred to the Internal Revenue Service by the bank due to suspicious activity. Some of them could take up to 14 weeks to process. But what we're specifically talking about in this article from Newsmax that came out a few days ago of the day of this recording, it came out on Monday, March 25th. There's $1 billion sitting there from 2020 that is representing about 940,000 people that need to get off the you know what and make it happen. The average median refund, they say, is $932 for 2020. Texas, for example, California, Florida, and New York have the largest amount of people potentially eligible for those refunds.
But think about it, that is $1 billion that the IRS has taken from people that they have absolutely no right to have. That is your money. That should never have been taken from you in the first place. And the fair tax would not take money from you. The only time you pay the government is when you choose to make a retail purchase under the fair tax. So they don't have this stupid withholding process where the government takes more money from you than you actually owe. And then they sit there and sit on it. And 3 years later, you don't have it back, and it's your money, and they're holding it. That is one point I wish I could get through to people, that the government is taking your money without your permission and withholding. They're taking it before you even get to spend a dime supporting your family. And then you have to jump through hoops, i.e. reveal all kinds of personal information to the government on a tax return to get back your money that they shouldn't have taken in the first place, for crying out loud. Why do we continue as a nation to put up with such an insane tax system? I just don't get it. When there is a much better alternative, the fair tax, pay your taxes when you buy things, pay your taxes anonymously, end of story, nice and clean, no problem. Okay, read over, at least for now.
Step back off of the crate. The challenges are that, well, we could say, well, it's always been this way. We've always had the income tax, blah, blah, blah. No, we haven't always had the income tax. It's just that our age and younger and even a little bit older, weren't alive at a time where there wasn't. So we think, okay, well, this is the only way that the government can collect money to operate. Oh, and the other argument is, well, the government needs to get the money to operate. And we're saying the money that you will spend when you go buy something that will fund the government through the fair tax, through a tax on consumption, is going to equal, or probably in most cases, in most scenarios, be more than what the government is able to collect now. And it gives us a certain level of privacy. The doors close on our books to the federal government. So they have no business knowing what you or I or anybody else does with our money. All we want to make sure of is we've hired all those people in Washington, and that the fact that the bureaucracy is as big and bloated as it is a story for another day and another show. But we pay those people to be up there through our taxes to do things, and quite frankly, they're not very efficient with it in a lot of ways. So if you had an opportunity to wrest control from the income tax and replace it with a tax on consumption, that puts us, we the people, in a position to control not only how much we pay, but when we pay it.
Absolutely. This quote here from Danny Werfel, who is the IRS commissioner, if you think about it, it should make everybody's blood boil. It is insane. He says, and this is a quote from the Newsmax article, Werfel is quoted as saying, Some people may not realize that they may be owed a refund. Think about that. Some people may not realize that that they may be owed a refund. We have a system that takes money from you in such a way that they take more than they need, and you might not even realize that they're taking more than you owe. And I cannot imagine, again, paying for a $20 purchase with a $12 purchase with a $20 purchase with a $12 bill. That should be fun. But
Yeah,
pay for a $12 purchase with a $20 bill and not realize, hey, that clerk owes me back $8 and change. But we've got a system where the government takes money from you. They owe you change and you don't even realize it. And if you don't jump through hoops to get it, they get to keep it. Why do we let this system continue to can you tell this particular subject has got me all just agitated and wanting to get rid of this corrupt, crazy system that we've got and replace it with a fair tax. I will try to calm down here.
well, see, here's the other thing. Yeah, man, don't blow up over. Don't need to see your head blowing up over there on the railroad tracks and all. According to the latest, for those of you on radio, Mr. Paxton has one of our favorite income tax railroad system versus the fair tax railroad system background. And you'll need to go to our video channels to see that spectacular background. Me, I've just got my usual studio look in the office with a bunch of paper on the corkboard back there to make it look like I'm busy. Tax season officially began on January 29th. And according to the latest tax season stats, more than 71.5 million individual tax filings have been submitted to the IRS this season so far. This is from Newsmax.com's article called Tax Season IRS Refund April 15th, came out March 25th. And the other thing about that is the number of people that file income tax that pay into the Treasury on a regular basis. If you think about how that looks with the fair tax, a tax on consumption, you do away with the income tax, you do away with the Internal Revenue Service, that whole scenario is now gone. So how many more people are going to be contributing to the Treasury at the cash register than are filing an income tax?
All right, let me throw this question at you. You just brought that out. 71.5 million individual tax filings have happened so far, which sounds like a pretty big number. But do you know, Kimosabe, what the population of the United States is?
320 million or so?
It's about 320 million. Obviously, not all 320 million are taxpayers. Some of them are kids that are underage. But if you got 320 million people and 71.5 million of them have filed income tax returns, that tells you that there are a lot of people that aren't filing tax returns. That are not taxpayers. We like to talk about those who make their living by less than legal means or work for cash under the table and stuff like that. The fair tax turns those people into taxpayers because they all buy things.
Right. That's exactly right. And even some of you mentioned kids, some of those 320 million people are kids. When I was a kid, I went up to Cox Pharmacy in Winston-Salem and I bought lollipops and everything. I was in the cash economy, man. I was sitting there mowing lawns, and you probably were too. And who knows who else?
Yes.
We end up with a little money in our pocket that's going to burn a hole if we don't get it out. So we go to the drugstore or go to the convenience store and buy a bottle of pop and maybe get some popcorn or some candy and stuff. We're contributing to the economy, even at that level. But imagine international travelers, the people that are in the underground economy, and everybody else, including those that don't have an income tax responsibility yet, buying stuff. The consumer is the king. I mean, I'm looking for the page on the website that shows the exact number, but it's got to be at least 3 times larger than the people that are, if you include, the international travelers and et cetera, got to be 3 times larger than the people that are paying the income tax now.
Oh, mercy, I tell you. Well, I hope you have got the point that we've been trying to make for the past half hour here on FAIRtax Power Radio. We have a rotten, and I mean a thoroughly rotten tax system that looks kind of like the butt mess that's over my shoulder there with all the different railroad tracks running together, as opposed to the FAIRtax, which is a nice, clean, easy, simple, efficient system, which is represented by that railroad track right there again. And if you're listening to an audio podcast or on one of the radio stations, you need to go to our Rumble archive or the FAIRtax Guys YouTube channel and see what we're talking about here. But this system is so much better than that system. Why don't we replace that system with this system? It's just insane. And hopefully we're still going to have that vote on the FAIRtax in the House of Representatives, and that we can see how many of your Congress critters are in favor of keeping a corrupt, complicated, intrusive, burdensome, ripe with evasion tax system when they have a much, much, much better alternative available to them. And we'll see who's going to vote for their own best interest and who's going to vote for the best interest of the people.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I'll reinforce this. If you're sitting there thinking, well, I don't know, income tax, how are we going to pay for the operation of our government, et cetera, et cetera. The FAIRtax plan will provide a greater number of participants to the Treasury, to providing finances for the Treasury in a much more simple way than the current system will. And on our website, how the FAIRtax works at fairtax.org, the FAIRtax, it says U.S. adults and international tourists equals 250 million taxpayers, probably a little more than that now. The current system, 155 million tax filers. So if you think the international traveler coming into the United States isn't worth a shot in the arm for our Treasury, I think that's great. I think that would be the way to look at it and understand that we did have a time where there was no income tax. It's just that we weren't around for it. And now here we have an opportunity to go back to that and think about what that will mean to the economy, to our pocketbooks, to the enhancements for savings and investment. It's just time to do it. Time.
Absolutely. So if you can, go to fairtax.org, sign up for the 1040 Club. We don't like to get on here and ask for money a lot, but Americans for Fair Taxation is a grassroots organization totally run by volunteers, and we could certainly use whatever support folks can give us. If you can do the $10.40 a month through the 1040 Club at fairtax.org, we would encourage you to do so. And we will encourage you to be back here next week for FAIRtax Power Radio, because we are slap out of time for this week. Again, thank you for watching, listening, and sharing the videos. Until we meet again, I'm Bob Paxton.
I'm Bob Scarborough.
Do I have an imposter over here on the other side? Let's try that again. I'm Bob Paxton.
And I'm Bob Scarborough.
There we go. We are the FAIRtax Guys, reminding you the FAIRtax is the only truly fair tax. And once you understand it,
you will demand it.
So what do you need from me to get these taxes collected?
Glad you asked, because there is a fair amount of information you need to be aware of.
That's your tax plan?
Oh, no. This is just the revisions for this year's tax plan. What I need from you is you need to keep track of all of your income, as well as any taxes that you've already paid. Also, any gifts that you received or gifts you've given to churches or charities or individuals throughout the entire year. Do you do any side jobs?
Every now and again.
Great, because there's some more information about that right here. Everything you need to know right here. So just simply compile that, send it in to us. Be careful, make sure there's no mistakes. If we do find mistakes were made, we can fine you or, throw you in jail. So you might want to be aware of that.
And what do you need from me?
As an individual, nothing. As a business owner, or if you're doing side jobs, yes, you would have to collect taxes on that, but, it's all right here.